The Treasury Secretary, the failed hedge fund manager Scott Bessent, may mispronounce that. I don't care if I did. Took about 500 points off the Dow Jones Industrial Average after mentioning earlier today that the U.S. has not made a unilateral offer to China to reduce the current tariff rate of 145% on most products. There are some products that have a lower tariff, like phones and semiconductor chips, and then there are other products that have a higher than 145%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average hit a high intraday today, April 23rd, at 40,376.11 and closed at 39,606.57, up 419.59 or 1.07%. Intraday, I recall the DJIA being up slightly more than 1,000 points. While stocks rose, the price of West Texas Intermediate crude oil fell about $2 a barrel and remains close to $60 a barrel, which signals a lack of confidence that the tariff war will be resolved prior to causing a worldwide recession. Bessent also made a claim that increased U.S. oil production would somehow propel U.S. growth up to 3%, though when making that statement, he is probably unaware that some oil and gas production in the United States has already been shut in due to the low prices caused by the recession fears that the Trump administration has created. If you Google U.S. field production of crude oil, the search results will take you to the Energy Department's website that has the relevant production data. The average U.S. production of crude oil in January, the last month that is now available at that website, showed a decline in production compared to December 2024, and that was before prices collapsed. I am not expecting a surge in U.S. crude oil production, no matter what Bessent and Trump say, compared to the prior 4 years. And I'm talking about the entire second term of Trump. Reading between the lines, and this is conjecture, it sounded like the U.S. has made an offer to China whereby China and the U.S. would both lower their respective tariffs by an amount that is not publicly known, or I haven't been able to find it yet. And this is not a unilateral offer by the U.S., but a bilateral one that is conditioned on China accepting it in order to receive a lower U.S. tariff. It is not known also whether there are any other conditions attached to any such offer made by the U.S., such as China allowing a sale of TikTok and the TikTok in the U.S. operation of TikTok. I've not seen a comment from China that indicates that it is willing to accept what offer, if any, has been made by Bessent. China appears to me to be content in letting Trump stew in his own concoction for a significant period of time as the blowback builds up higher and higher in the U.S. It is no secret that a variety of U.S. companies, including several known retailers like Walmart, whose CEOs met with Trump yesterday, have been applying pressure on Trump, pointing out the obvious that their supply chains have been disrupted, prices to consumers are rising, and needed products are simply no longer available. The current tariff levels imposed by China and the U.S. on each other has the same impact as an embargo would for any product subject to the high minimum amounts of 125% imposed by China and 145% by the U.S. If whatever offer, if made by Bessent, is a reduction in the tariff rates to anything over 50%, that would still have almost the same embargo effect as the current levels, and I would not see any reason for China to accept that kind of offer. I'm about to quote a statement released by China's government today in response to Bessent, which suggests that whatever the U.S. offered China was a non-starter. Quote, "Our doors are open if the U.S. wants to talk. If a negotiated solution is what the U.S. truly wants, it should stop threatening and blackmailing China and seek dialogue based on equality, respect, and mutual benefit. To keep asking for a deal while exerting extreme pressure is not the right way to deal with China and simply will not work." End of quote. That does not sound like they're receptive to anything that the U.S. has offered to them so far. I did not sell any stocks today. I did do some light buying, as I have been doing every day. I was tempted to do some selling in the morning, but managed to resist the impulse. My stock allocation is so low that I'm not concerned about a further decline in the stock market. I reached a long time ago, and people that are familiar with my blog already know this, or even my YouTube videos. I reached the only reasonable conclusion possible, that statements made by Trump are most likely false or misleading at best, and certainly unworthy of belief, unless I have clear and convincing evidence that he is being truthful, which is so rare that I have trouble remembering when it last occurred. Everything that has happened since forming that inescapable conclusion has confirmed its validity. So I'm not going to risk my money on anything, any statement that Trump makes about trade negotiations being going to be successful or similar claims that he makes. As to Bessent, I have seen enough from him so far that I'm not going to risk my money on any statement that he makes either. Maybe he is being truthful, maybe not. I certainly do not accept anything that he says at face value, and I lean more toward believing that he is most likely trying to manipulate me as an investor with statements that may turn out to be untrue, unreliable, or overly optimistic, and all of the statements having, when made, inadequate or incorrect factual foundations. I have cited a YouTube video in the More section below that contains information on why I cannot risk my money on representations made by Bessent and Trump on trade negotiations. If you listen to that video, you can make up your own mind whether it is more likely that Bessent is feeding us BS or is being truthful when he is represented that there will be a de-escalation in the trade war with China in the very near future, which investors took as true when he made it yesterday.